Have you ever had a conversation, then said to yourself, I don't think that person likes me, but you didn't know for sure? That's what I'm going to be talking about in today's video. Are you assuming that other people don't like you? But if you're new, my name's Michelle Ferris. I'm a psychotherapist and I love helping people create relationships that work. So today I'm going to show you what's really happening and why you're making those assumptions and what you can do instead. So the first thing that happens when we're assuming that somebody doesn't like us is that we've gotten into their heads. Now we're obsessing about what that other person could be thinking about us. And if you've ever done this, you know that you are immediately feeling disempowered. Because when we jump into somebody else's head, we're no longer feeling centered and calm. We're now in obsessive mode, worrying and ruminating about what this person could possibly think about us. Maybe somebody gave you a dirty look and you wondered what the heck you did wrong. Maybe you did nothing wrong. But the first thing that happens is we jump in and assume what the other person is thinking. And let me tell you, 9 times out of 10, you would be wrong, because there's a lot of different reasons why somebody could be giving you that look that has nothing to do with what you're doing or who you are. Because you are enough exactly as you are, no matter if somebody likes you or doesn't like you. So the key is to get your focus back onto yourself. Get out of that other person's head, because it's a dangerous place to be, because it's basically making stuff up. And that's what tanks our thinking and makes us feel bad about ourselves. And I don't want that for you. The other thing that tends to happen is that you assume the worst. When you think somebody doesn't like you, you're assuming that they have an ill intention towards you. But here's the thing. Maybe that person is just having a bad day. Maybe they didn't even see you, or you said hi to them and they were lost in thought about something they were worrying about. When we assume somebody else's intentions, it gets us into trouble and it creates a lot of negativity in our heads that make life harder than it needs to be. And I don't want that for you. If you've ever struggled with assuming people don't like you, say me too in the comments. This video is going to help. The other thing that happens is that you're looking for evidence to back that up. But here's the thing. Look for the right evidence. Because part of what we do when we assume somebody doesn't like us is we look for those little signs that may or may not indicate that the person doesn't like you. But what I want you to do is I want you to ask yourself, is there any real evidence supporting the fact that they don't like you? Because if you don't have concrete evidence, which really is a pattern of behavior over time, you're making it up. And I want you to stop overthinking this so that you can get your serenity back. Because real evidence is their words, their actions that are very clear and point over a period of time that they don't care for you. So for instance, this happened to me recently. I went to an event and someone I know walked right past me to the person I was with and said hi to them. And it really hurt my feelings. I immediately felt like, does this person not like me? I went there myself. So what I had to do is I had to first ask myself, is there evidence to support that? So what I had to do was I had to backtrack and see if I could find any other evidence over years past to support that they don't like me. I found some, but when I really looked at it, what I came up with was, I'm probably not this person's favorite person, but it's not that they don't like me either. So some of this doesn't have to be black or white. Somebody likes you or they don't like you. Sometimes people are just neutral to us. Maybe we're not their favorite person, and that's why they spend more time and energy with the person next to us versus giving us that same attention. You know what? We don't like everybody either, and that's part of life. And part of recovery, whether it's from codependency or relationship issues, is accepting that not everybody is going to like us, and that doesn't mean anything about our self-worth or how valuable we are, because it absolutely doesn't. So remember, without clear-cut evidence, it's likely your fear talking, not the real truth. Another thing I want you to consider when you're assuming people don't like you is consider the personality style. I myself am an extrovert. It's pretty obvious if I like you because my whole face lights up. Not everybody is like that, especially if somebody is more analytical and they're in their head. Maybe they're not a smiley person and they're not very friendly. So with those kinds of people, it's harder to tell whether or not they like you because they don't show it on their face. Maybe they're stressed out about something. We have to give them the benefit of the doubt because unless there's clear-cut evidence to support that they don't like us, I don't want you to go down that path. Because what I want you to do is just assume the best. That, you know what, that person probably does like you, but they don't show it necessarily in their face. And for me, over the years, I've come to recognize this. I've met a lot of people in my life because I'm an extrovert, and I can always tell those introverted or more analytical people because I don't instantly connect with them. Doesn't mean they're not going to become a friend at some point, but I notice I can't read them emotionally as well as I could somebody that's a little bit more open, and that's okay. I'm very careful not to make assumptions based on somebody's facial expressions because let's face it, all of us have lots going on these days. What we don't want is to assume that the other person doesn't like us right out of the gate because half of the time that's probably not the case, especially with people who are more emotionally reserved. Those are the people that are going to take time to develop a friendship with, and that's perfectly okay. Also, people who are more emotionally reserved aren't going to necessarily share openly. They're going to take longer to trust and build a relationship with you. Again, that's just their style. It has nothing to do with whether or not they like you. So another thing you could do if you think somebody doesn't like you is ask. You could say something like, I noticed that things have been different between us, or we haven't really ever had a good connection. Can we talk about that? And give them a chance to respond. Because it takes courage to check in with that other person to see if this is actually a real issue. Because sometimes the other person might say, you know what, I'm just super busy right now. It has nothing to do with you. And most of the time, that's probably the case. Let's just say somebody really doesn't like you and they get really shell-shocked in reaction to that. And they don't know what to say and maybe they avoid you for the rest of the day. That's a clear-cut sign that, you know what, they don't want to engage, and that's okay. We need to remember that not everything is about us. And if somebody doesn't like us, that's okay. For me, I've had to come to learn this lesson many times in my recovery because not everybody likes me and I don't have to like them. And that's okay. It just means that some people aren't a good fit. And that too is part of cultivating healthy relationships, is to recognize who are your peeps and who aren't your peeps. So knowing what kind of person fits for you is really helpful in this process. So often when we feel like somebody doesn't like us, it can be a major emotional trigger where we go down that rabbit hole of feeling like we're not enough or something's wrong with us or why don't they like me as much as the other person. And what I want you to do is consider connecting with your inner child around this. And what I mean by that is connect to that part of you that's a little bit younger. Maybe they're a teenager, maybe they're 6 or 7. That part of you that feels like they weren't liked, because that's the part that's getting triggered here. And what I want you to do is I want you to imagine giving them the love and the support and the affirmation that they needed in order to feel liked. Because many of us have stories around not being liked as kids. I know for me, I did not have many friends growing up in grammar school. People thought I was a nerd and I was alone a lot and it was super lonely. But as I grew up, I got more social skills and thankfully that changed. But when I was little, I really struggled with feeling like nobody liked me. So I understand this. And if you relate to that, say me too in the comments. I totally get it. You also might want to get my emotional triggers journal because that is going to walk you through some journal prompts on how to heal this. Because when we're talking about emotional triggers like not being liked, you want to go back to the original source. What is it connected to? For me, it was connected to not having friends growing up in grammar school. And once I got back to that little girl, I could understand and see what she needed from me, which was validation and support. And being able to tell her that, you know what, you are lovable, you are liked, People do love you, because that part of us needs to heal so that we don't feel like we're assuming the worst in our relationships. Because assuming that you're not liked doesn't feel good. I know for me it feels lousy, and I don't want that for you. The other thing I want you to do is I want you to create a mantra, a positive, loving, self-soothing statement that you can tell your inner child when this issue comes up. Because you might have situations where you don't feel liked or you feel left out of something, and it's super hurtful. That's the time when we want to comfort ourselves by saying things like, you are enough. Everything is going to be okay. You can handle this. This isn't about you. God loves you. Whatever you can tell yourself to heal that part of you so that we don't go down that rabbit hole of worrying about someone else not liking us. Because half the time, that isn't true anyway. So the next thing I want you to do is go watch my video on handling emotional triggers, because that is your next step. Thanks so much.